My name is Gardy. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center here in studio. We're going to be talking about health and nutrition. Feel free to ask questions. Make sure you subscribe to the Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center podcast. You can do that on all podcast platforms. Do it. Come straight to your phone. Dr. Chapa, how you doing today?
Gardy, I am fantastic. I've had a lovely, busy week already. Had a fantastic day in the office yesterday. Just saw some, miracles, I would say. And, it's the small things that we take for granted that I'm starting to kind of just rehash and look back and just go, wait, slow down. That is a miracle. That is a miracle. That is a miracle. And when people come in with belly pain and they walk out with no belly pain, they walk in with a headache and there's no headache when they walk out. And we find that, it's little things that we can do right there on the spot with chamomile marshmallow, or what we can do right there on the spot with, somebody with brain fog that needs some B vitamins and ribonucleic acid. And we can just feed them right there. And inside of the 15 minutes, 20 minutes that we spend with people, they all of a sudden, they walk out and you can see their constitution changed. And, at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we just are firm believers that all life starts and stops, brother, at the cellular level. And nutrition is the fundamental driver that puts you into the driver's seat of good health, vibrant health, longevity and vitality. And we just want people to have that vim, vigor, and vip all the days of their life. And so I get excited about what we offer people day in and day out. So I've already off to the races, having a good one. What about you? What's going down in your world? I understand you got a few little changes on your hands.
Yeah, I got some big changes, in my family. So me and my wife, we had a baby. I guess it was the baby's 2 weeks old. 2 weeks old now. We had the baby out of town. The baby's home. Everything's going really good. It's a lot of shifting in the family.
Sure.
So the other kids are adjusting well. Our 2-year-old son, Luca, he's the one who is he's handling it very, very good, but still not fully understanding like the grasp and the shift and the change. But he's doing okay.
And it's like incorporating, him as the big brother, right?
Right.
And saying, hey, you get to do this. Like you get to step up to that plate. And how many kids do you have?
4 now.
Oh my gosh, you've
come
to you've come to Chapa level. Yeah. Are y'all done, or is it like that? We don't know yet.
We're done.
Okay,
we are done. Yeah.
Yeah, we keep saying we're done. I'm certain that we're done actually. But there's that little moment. Ellie now is like 6.5, and she's just growing so fast, man. And I'm like, oh man, I kind of miss, just having that 6 and under phase. And, but it's been really cool to watch. The other day I asked Ellie, I said, do you want another brother or sister? And she goes, nope. Which means she's like, pretty happy with the circumstances, her being the baby. She kind of, indirectly somehow gets it that things change. And it's chaos, but it's controlled chaos. It's good. And I'm thankful as well. So I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. Just trying to take in those little moments and just seeing my 2-year-old, because I was like, oh, he was a baby. And then now we have a real baby. And I'm like, man, he's massive. Is this how much more older they got in the span of the new baby getting here? Just realizing how much time has gone by.
And how fast. Yeah. It's like, does it have to go so fast? People always will say, make sure you take advantage of the time. And, we just kind of, we know we're trying. We're like I'm legitimately trying to saddle that horse and bridle that horse and slow that thing down. But yet, I was just talking to a patient the other day and I was like, do you realize we are already in the October 11th, 12th, I don't know, of 2022? What happened? Where did the year go? And they've already put Christmas stuff up at Home Depot. And I'm like, this is not nice. This is not, I'm not ready for it to come to an end at the end of the year. I'm not ready for the holidays to start yet. Of course I will be, I'll get there. But at the end of the day, I'm just really wanting, having more and more conversations with people around, the fast-paced nature of life that is creating this stress ball of overwhelm, and people are having to manage that and navigate that. And I think that people are looking to figure out ways to like kind of check out a little bit and find hobbies and find things that can slow down the pace. But I mean, they're really struggling, and so we have to continually get in the boat with people and say, all right, so when the going gets tough, the tough get going, right? So when the stress is mounting up, we've got to do some mounting up ourselves in self-care and body care. And I mean, I just always teach people that there's things you can do. There's a lot you can control, even when life gets out of sorts. And just to encourage people that look, even though it seems overwhelming right now, you can do more than you realize you can do. Your body can handle more than you realize your body it can handle. I was in the gym the other morning, and this bodybuilder, he looked like he leaned down pretty hardcore, and I was like, "You cutting?" I didn't know who he was, and but I could tell. I mean, I noticed he was seemingly leaning up, but then all of a sudden he like he leaned up, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I had a show this weekend." So of course, the previous week he cut down hard, and he looked great. He got second place in his show, and I said, what do you think happened? And he was like, oh, I just should have. He goes, I think I should have started. I didn't. I delayed my start time. He goes, I couldn't. I was on the fence. I had so much going on, and then at 5 weeks, I decided to go for it. And I should have given myself my 10 weeks or whatever he needed for prep. And but we got to talking about the recovery and all that stuff, and he was just saying that our bodies can handle anything that we throw at it in the gym and exercise, and in some respects, even in like the business life of stress, that's another level of working out, right? And he go, and it was just cool to hear somebody else say, our bodies can handle more than we give it credit. Like, we blame too much on age, we blame too much on the weather, we blame too much on some other circumstance that's out of our control, instead of grasping at what we can control. And that's what I always want to teach at Living Well, is that you are in control. You have more control, and we will teach you, if you don't know how, to get control, praise God. And that's what we do at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, is to teach you the value of choosing life one bite at a time through lifestyle choices, alternative medicine ways, functional medicine practices, doing detoxes, looking at our spa detox to, I've got some patients that are so sick that when we put nutrients into their body freaks out, and they're so toxic because their body turns on and starts dumping this trash, and they have symptoms, and so we have to figure out offset ways to get their body to clean out. And that's where these spa services come in, the detox foot bath, the hydro massage beds for just relaxation. I'm amazed. I had no idea. You remember the movie Field of Dreams, you build it, they'll come. We've got this place, and people come in and they just say, oh yeah, me and my mom, me and my sister, me and my spouse came in and just jumped on that hydro bed and just kind of did like a mini couples massage, and it's a nice checkout moment. So we've got those places. The infrared sauna that we have, it's a full spectrum infrared sauna that helps people maximize ATP production, cellular regeneration. I've always thought before I incorporated this into the practice, as I was researching over the last few years, I mean, I've known about infrared sauna. I knew it was a good thing, but I didn't realize I always was just using it for detox. And I'm such a detox fanatic that I think everybody should be detoxing in some capacity. Where can we leverage this into a clinic? And finally, we have the real estate to do it. And so I brought it in. But lo and behold, what I discovered is that the infrared sauna has the ability to invest ATP into every cell, tissue, organ, gland in your body to create and maximize function. And ATP is a energy money. It's an energy currency that your body is naturally producing always. And you can saturate the tissues of your body with full spectrum infrared. And it is very different than just an ambient temperature hot box sauna that most people have been in. And just, so again, just to encourage people, like there are things you have access to, and especially at Living Well, we got a ton of them. So it's pretty exciting, dude.
Earlier you were talking about our bodies being able to handle more in the gym, and there's a couple things, I guess. So is that like a mental training or like a habit thing? Like how do we get those things to line up?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think the discipline of going to the gym or going for a walk every day, the great Jim Rohn said, if you know you need to go for a walk every day for your good health and you don't do it, it's on you. If you know you should go for a walk every day and for your good health and you do it, you can be proud of the daily discipline. And, I had a guy yesterday, I said, look, just start with 20 minutes, 10 minutes away from your house, 10 minutes home. And he goes, well, what about 30? His wife says, why don't you do 30? And I said, well, he can. I said, but at the end of the day, you got to remember, he's not walking now. And if we could get him outside 10 minutes away, 10 minutes home, his body's got 90 days, 4 months before it adapts and builds a plateau. And the body gets good at whatever you start doing, right? Like, so if you are a sitter, your pelvic muscles get short and tight, and your butt cheeks get flabby so that you feel more stable in your chair. Your shoulders start to round into that C-shaped posture so that you can find more comfort in that sitting position. Your blood pressure goes up to offset the fact that you're not moving and grooving and maximizing blood flow. But yet we get mad at the blood pressure and sabotage it with medication, not recognizing that the seated posture that we've been putting ourselves in is what created the high blood pressure or the flabby butt cheeks or the poor core muscles so that the body goes into that C shape. Instead, anything that you need to get good at, you got to start doing. And so it's recognizing that even if you start with a little, there's this gal that trains at the gym. She is a trainer, and I do a lot of things with weights, and I'm a firm believer that they've done studies on this. So it's not like I just believe this and I'm teaching this out of my own, opinion. This is science that says that if you want to live a long, victorious life, lift heavy things. You have to. You've got to get good at some hinge work where you're bending at the waist and lifting something up, or a deadlift. Now, you don't have to lift 300 pounds, and I've done all that stuff and found, man, it really is quite fascinating to feel good about a 315 pound or my max 325 pound lift. But dude, why? Now I'm tired the rest of the day. I exhausted everything. It took everything out of me. I like doing functional movement patterns, and this gal, she does band work a lot. She's got this gargantuan fanny pack and bands coming out of it. She's like a magician, and you see, and I look over there, and she's got people dying with bands, and then she's got other people that are beginners, and you can tell they're noobs, but she's taking them through body processes and resistance, and so there's so many wonderful ways to ease into a program, and to get like the functionality and the vitality moving and grooving in your veins, and it's time in the saddle. They used to say it takes 21 days to make a habit. They found that in some people it could take up to 67 days. Some people it could take 120 days. It's not always that same 21 days as we wish it was. I think the 21 days gives us I can accomplish anything in 21 days. I can do anything for a week. We start with what we can do. And that's what we have to ask ourselves when it comes to the discipline of overcoming the I don't want to get out of bed today, or I don't want to go to the gym today. And and it's finding, how it's also finding the routine. Like, our bodies are very, very routine. We are creatures of habit, right? Tom Cooley talks about in his book, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life, that, the body goes through a great deal of biochemistry and a great deal of, blood sugar management in order to build pathways of routine, build pathways of habit. So it's not necessarily an easy thing to build a habit or a brain path that your body can be cued to run a path, to run a process. And if you can see your brain every time you do a task over and over and over and over and over and over again, then you can appreciate what I said in the beginning that says anything that you need to get good at, you just got to start doing. But the problem with some of these activities, 10 minutes down the road, 10 minutes back, it's easy to do, right? But it's also easy
not to do it.
Not to do it. That's
Yeah.
right. It's easy not to do it. And so I think that it comes to appreciating the mind over matter. When you don't mind, it don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to say, hey, look, I mean, today I wanted to go to the gym, but today was an interesting day. Because my partner, she has a little bit of a tweak in her back, and we're working with that. And so I was thinking up, all right, I want to do my back. How do we do what's called workarounds? But what if we would have just called it and said, let's not go train today because your back hurts. Well, then we'll make an excuse tomorrow because our foot hurts. And then we'll make an excuse the next day because our shoulder hurts. And then we'll make an excuse the next day because our head hurts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You make a habit, a good habit or a bad habit. But by golly, in my world and what I've seen for success is you just got to show up and you've got to be willing to work through it. I've showed up with a bellyache. I've showed up with a headache. I've showed up with no sleep. I've showed up with plenty of sleep. And the routine and the pattern, I know if I start my day right, I'll end it better, always. And I feel more accomplished. I feel like, for me, mornings work for me. Like to go to the gym in the afternoon, it's not as likely going to happen because the day starts rolling and it's like a steamroller. Hey, you don't get in its way, it's going. And I'm like, And but it is a mind game, and there's so many ways to play the mind game. But find that routine and pattern. What part of your day can you implement something of value? Good meal, a good food choice, a good exercise plan. Even if it's small. Like I remember watching this video. It was one of those inspirational kind of videos during the Christmas holidays of this old codger who was. They portrayed him as getting out of the bed with stiff legs, stiff knees, stiff everything. He looked, like if the wind blew too hard, it'd blow him in half. He looked frail, fragile, and weak. And he was looking out the window wanting to do more. There was people playing, socializing, enjoying the things of the outdoors. And
I think I saw this one, but keep going.
Yeah,
I remember it for sure.
And he surely wasn't able. And how many people find themselves in that spot, right? And then the next scene, a kettlebell shows up magically on the floor, right? And he starts lifting the kettlebell, just picking it up and setting it down, picking it up and setting it down. And then he starts, doing his best to pick it up over his head and set it down, and pick it up over his head and set it down. And then he gets to where he lifts it out in front of him as if, away from his body, forcing his back to engage, his glutes to engage, his hamstrings to engage, to foundationally stabilize him. So as he's lifting, this kettlebell up over and over and over again, and there's several scenes of him just continually, day in and day out, inside, outside, setting the pattern, setting the routine, setting the goal, and you don't know what the goal is in this, but you know it's something's about to happen. And the last scene is him. It's even hard to even talk about it without kind of tearing up a little bit. But he picks up his granddaughter to put a star on a Christmas tree, and I go, sweet, like. That's the vitality and the vim, vigor, and vip it takes. So, like, for you, what is it that you want to accomplish? And I'd be careful in saying want. I'm going to change it. What is it that you desire? Because the Bible says we shouldn't be in want. And we find psychologically when we are in want, we will always find ourselves wanting. So instead, let's desire something of depth and something of, of worth. And let's pursue that. And for me, it's longevity, it's vitality, it's energy. And at Living Well, we're going to come in and support you through nutritional deficiencies. We know that you've got deficiencies. Everybody does. We're all dealing with vitamin, mineral, essential fatty acid problems. We all have deburdening needs. Our detox needs are high. Our toxicity load is high. And so if we can get that toxicity load load down and deburden the tissues, your body will function better and perform better. And the whole goal is to like get in there and start changing the dynamics of your root system so that whenever we support you and build you up, your system will thrive. And that's where that energy and that vitality and longevity come from.
So here's a question that came in, but kind of already answered it in a way, but I think just starting where you're at, starting doing something, and then like you aren't just like lifting up to put on the tree or not running a marathon at first. But here's a question. So it says, I have a friend whose heart rate is pretty high during workouts and it seems to concern them. Are there any recommendations on what they should do?
Yeah, totally. So number one, guys, if you guys have questions, when we're on air live, we love fielding them live. So thank you for bringing these questions aboard because, this show is for you. We want to teach you how to live better, be better, and stay better here at Living Well. So we know you have questions and you have health challenges, and we'll try to create a safe space for that to happen, So in this case, with an elevated heart rate, obviously we want to recognize that, exercise is going to elevate the heart rate, So we want to kind of know how high is that heart rate. And, I would say that I love Philip Maffetone's heart rate model. It's 180 minus your age times 65, 75%, depending on where you want to. If you're a new person, 65%. And then if you have medications, you subtract 5 from the number. If you've had a surgery, you subtract another 5. If you've got some sort of major, weight issue, you subtract another 5. And what that does is it sets a bar for your heart rate. So I've had some people that were messed up pretty good, and we started their heart rate at 120. And so now knowing your number, if you start working out and you hit 140, that would be a potentially, for you, new and a little scary. And so I would definitely back off. That would give you an opportunity with a heart monitor, with all these cool gadgets and gizmos present that we have access to today. It's easy to kind of do body metrics and see where your system is running. And so if the heart rate is, pushing that, upper echelon, so let's say that your number comes in, like mine I think right now is at like 145 is a fair number for me to be up and around to still be
when you're lifting or okay.
Yeah, so just what we call it's he built it around this concept. Philip Maffetone again. You can actually get probably just put Philip Maffetone's heart rate formula and it'll probably pop up. But what it's out of the book called In Fitness and in Health, and he talked about when he would train athletes, because he was an Olympic trainer, and he found that people were what he would call anaerobic, means their body is so up on an uptick. It's burning so hard, so fast. It's always reaching for easy fuel sources like sugar, for example, to burn. And that's what, where he came in and said, no, what we need to do is we need to retrain the body to be more efficient in how it maximizes energy production. And the way you do that is to teach the body to burn body fat. And you can do that through this formula. Okay, so just look up again, Philip Maffetone, heart rate measuring tool, and I'm sure something will pop up in Google. And then you put your 180 minus your age times 65% if that's what you want to do, or 75% if that's what you want to do. But whatever that number is, that's going to give you what he calls your aerobic formula. Aerobic, not anaerobic. So now we're teaching the body to maximize oxygen. Okay, oxygen is important. So obviously the higher our heart rate goes, the more our body is working, so it's got to quickly reach for quick sources of energy. Well, what happens when you run out of those quick sources of energy? Your system might have to work harder, and therefore he might be feeling palpitations, he might be feeling a little discomfort in his chest, and so back off. That's okay. That's safe. That's good. And so, but he might also just need to be okay knowing and give himself permission that if this little magic formula gives him a parameter to work within and he's still feeling it, we still want to address a few things. You should really never know that your heart is beating, even in the gym. Don't get me wrong. When I'm working it, I can feel my heart beating out of my chest, right? But it's not irregular. It's not out of rhythm. It doesn't feel pressure or pain or discomfort. I just feel it thumping in there, right? Because it's thumping, it's working harder. And so I've done a set of leg day, and I go to the little Stairmaster machine or the elliptical, and I grab hold of those handles, and my number will come in at 135, and by the end of my cardio set, I'm at 144, and so I'm inside of my zone. But man, I mean, I came off of a weight session at 135, and so that means I was working it, and I'm sweaty and I'm nasty feeling. I mean, not nasty feeling, but my shirt's all, I could wring sweat out of it, and I go, cool, I did something today, But we don't all need to. That's not what always is exercise. Exercise could be simply going for a 10-minute walk up the road, 10 minutes back, because he also talks about in that book that they would do clot testing or clog testing on pigs, and they would shut off one of the arteries to the heart, 60-70% at what they call an occlusion, and force the pig to be in basically a heart disease state. They'd put the pig on a treadmill, and people out there are probably like, oh, poor piggy, and but they put it on 20 minutes walking, not running, nothing stressful, just four-legged prancer right there, getting it done, a little pig walk. And what they found is that in a very short window of time, less than 90 days, the pig heart did a natural bypass around the occlusion. It didn't fix the occlusion necessarily. They found a bypass. So a bypass means we go. They come in surgically and they build like a bypass, something around a detour. In this case, the body did it naturally. Gardy, do you understand how amazingly cool that is? That walking could improve blood flow so much that the body knows how to build a bridge. I'm always fascinated when they build a bridge over water. Like, how do they do that? I mean, they're over water or a tunnel. How do they do that? Modern marvels. But this same modern marvel is happening inside your body, given two parameters. One, you're giving the body the right level of stimulation, and two, the right level of the right nutritional intervention. And so, dude, start right where you're at and get moving. If the dude don't move,
the dude don't groove.
The dude don't groove. I mean, and it's that should encourage us all to get up and get going, right?
Yes, that's very cool. Aren't pigs' hearts are very similar to humans, right?
Yeah. For the most part, it's definitely a. Same idea.
Yeah. Just interesting.
I've gotten to play with deer heart, sheep heart, cow hearts, and human hearts, and so I don't know that I've ever actually dissected a pig. But they got the chambers and they do what they're supposed to do. And something that's really fascinating too about the heart is they've studied the imagery on the heart. They've taken the heart out and they watch the heart beat for minutes on end until it just runs out of lifeblood. It needs that oxygen, needs that nutritional flow. But in and of itself, the heart will keep beating unattended from the brain. Now think about that for a second. That's because it's got its own built-in brain system. The heart is, an amazing vessel. My dad used to always say, "Oh, I'm just so fascinated with how God intricately designed us in our mother's wombs." And we should take a step back and breathe in life and go, "Oh, thank you, Jesus." Wow. We have life, and we underestimate what we can put into the life that we've been given and the time, So, just definitely get started. Let's play the game. This guy with the heart issue, what if it's just simply, hey, you need some B vitamins, brother. We need to get in there and make sure that your minerals are where they need to be so that your body can control that heart rhythm.
Maybe even lay off the caffeine or pre-workout or coffee right before you're doing something. I think that can affect.
Gardy, you're absolutely right. I'd even bring into the mindset of toxicity, but absolutely overstimulation could totally be a parameter that we've got to address. And so these pre-workouts, man, I know you get jacked up on energy, but man, at what expense? At what cost? You know what I mean? If you put these artificial stimulants in and you don't have the foundational base to perform, you're going to see heart palpitations or heart arrhythmias or some sort of heart glitch that you go, that didn't feel good, and that would be a sign, not that the workout was bad, but probably your deficiencies or you're overstimulated. Mm-hmm. Good point.
Here's another question that came in. I was out of town for a little bit, and I was watching everybody be like, man, the weather is not as hot. It's kind of cool. So there's been some shifts and some changes. So here's a question. It said, sneezing, itchy throat, and itchy eyes. What can I do? And I'm sure all that comes into play with the changing of the seasons and stuff.
No doubt about it. I mean, of course, we just had a little cold front last week. We're right into fall. The season is changing, and allergies have been heavier and hotter than ever. And that hasn't been quite as bad as I've seen in the past thus far, but we definitely are in a 3-week, run right now where people's allergy levels, ragweed is through the roof. That is a big one, and people are sensitive to this stuff. And so when you're playing in the yard, you better make sure that you got some sinus relief spray to clean out those sinuses after you play in the yard. It's a colloidal silver saline rinse that we use at our office, but you really need to, be supportive of the body as natural detox elimination pathways using, things like Allerplex or Allercaps or Allernest. And these are different blends of either food or herbs that come together to help the body recognize a histaminic response and recognize a foreign, non-infectious allergen presence and help your body eliminate it appropriately through the appropriate channels so that you're not sitting there bleeding out your eyes or scratching your eyes out or, having a nose that's leaking like a sieve. We don't want that, or we don't want you hacking up lugs, every which way to Sunday because, it's your wife, doesn't appreciate you blowing snot out of your nose, And but at the end of the day, this is a real issue, and people are leaning towards these medications that just turn off the response so that your body now has got to figure out another way to deal with it. And so, it temporarily works, but it doesn't underlyingly fix the problem. And so we always want to get to the underlying source. So where could non-infectious allergens be stemming from? Liver congestion, lymphatic congestion, bowel congestion. If your number one exit channel is slow, so is now your processing plant, your liver, which is going to backflow into your lymph, and your body goes, I can't stay in the lymphatics, because if these things stay in the lymphatics and they're not processed accordingly, or they go through too slow, they're potentially going to get infected, and the body's not going to let the lymph system get infected, so it's going to find a secondary exit strategy. And so the body will pour out of your ears, nose, and throat. There's where the ENT's job comes in. But it isn't that the ENT needs to give you an over-the-counter allergy remedy. He needs to be, let's ask the deeper, better question. What's going on downstream? What are your bowels doing? I have one bowel movement every other day, or every couple of days, or I do poop every day, and whatever. And I just say, okay, great. So we need to clean your system out some. When's the last time you did a bowel cleanse? Oh, what's that? That sounds scary. I don't have time to be running to the bathroom, Dr. Chapa. And we have to re-educate people that no, this is not a diarrhea cleanse. That's not what we want. We're not going to keep you in a state of, constantly worrying where the next potty is. We're going to create a space where your body can do some natural elimination work so that we can free up bandwidth, your body processing plant-wise at the liver site can do its job more effectively and process out these non-infectious allergens instead of you having these non-infectious allergy reactions. And these are things that we can do very easily and very effortlessly, through every change of season. And so I've had, I think 3 or 4 people come in yesterday, they just had real thick, swollen, knotty glands in their neck. And we did recommend some allergy work, but really what we had to do is flush the lymph. We did that using Spanish black radish and Thymex, to produce natural killer cells to just help clean up, and then the lymphatic support from the radish to flush out. And then we come in with the allergy work to make sure that everybody's processing those foreign invaders, because you can't stop the weather, correct?
Right.
I can't. I haven't figured it out yet. It seems like we have, 4 seasons. Well, we have modified seasons here, but nonetheless, we still have a shift in life. Like, it's getting darker earlier. The weather's definitely cooler. My pool is definitely colder. And I'm like, man, I miss my.
Yeah.
Now I got to get comfortable with cold plunges.
Yeah. Here's another question that came in. Thank you for asking. Feel free to ask questions. I appreciate these. It says, how much caffeine is too much caffeine? I like this one.
Woo. So, great question. First and foremost, recognize that caffeine is going to deplete your body of minerals. And so the easiest way to know how much, too much caffeine is if you can't go off of caffeine and function normally, you're probably consuming too much caffeine. I mean, seriously, that's that's everybody. Well, there is that. But really and truly, so I would say if you're a coffee drinker, for example, you should consume between 4 ounces of coffee can deplete your body almost a liter of water and deplete minerals out of your body in such a way that now you're in a deficit starting your day. And so when you constantly have to go through your day looking for caffeine, like, you should be able to have your little cup of joe in the morning and then off you go, and it's not something that you really have to have. It's just more something that you enjoy, and you can't justify this. You really have to kind of think through this process and say to yourself, all right, how many days can I go without that? I mean, I really enjoy it, yes, but I can definitely enjoy it too much and rationalize if I have to have it versus if it's just something of a pleasure. And we should all go 10 days, 12 days, 15 days every quarter off of all kinds of stimulants. That way you know that your body is, one, able to function on its own without these stimulants, which is why you always, need a big old can of water present so that you can fulfill that need whenever you're thirsty or whatever. You just kind of keep putting the water in, and then we load you up on minerals to keep your mineral saturation repleted, and you'll find that your energy is very sustainable and very functional, and you're not reaching to caffeine stimulants. You're not reaching to these things. So, how much caffeine is too much? I think first it's recognize that caffeine does deplete us. Second is, are you able to go without it? And third is, if you take too much caffeine and you get a tummy ache, that's too much. That's obvious, right? Or if you feel a little bit of a agitation in your chest, diaphragm area behind your chest bone, and you feel palpitations, your body feels warm and hot, your ears are hot and red, and you feel like you just can't sit still. And then people might say, to me, that I fidget a lot, and maybe I do. I use my hands when I talk, and I've learned that, on the radio and things like that, when I have to sit down, my whole life is built around standing, and so for me to sit down for an hour is very challenging because I'm not accustomed to doing it regularly, and so for me, sitting behind this mic, I have to stay still and keep my mouth moving, keep my brain functioning, and I can use my hands, but I find that I bounce around on my feet because I get excited about the topic at hand. So that wouldn't be the same as having a caffeine push. I have had caffeine pushes to the point where I knew I couldn't drink anymore. Like it was almost like I was having heartburn or irritation in my stomach and in my chest, and I was like, nah, I'm done. So there's a gauge there, but every caffeine source you have, you can find a place where if you find that you're reaching for caffeine every hour to 2 hours, because you're dipping, that means that you're really having an adrenal fatigue problem and your B vitamins are low. And we've got to get your B vitamin levels restored back up so that your adrenals can function like they're supposed to.
I know some of the energy drinks out there, they put 200, 300 milligrams of caffeine in a can like that, and they'll put labels on there. Hey, this is 2 servings to kind of cover their tail because they don't want anybody going into getting a heart attack.
And it is. I mean, it is a drug. I mean, it is definitely a stimulant beyond, that is, in some respects, unregulated. But there was a book called The Sugar Blues that we read, and then we found another one called Caffeine Blues, and it talks about just the amount of stress caffeine can put on our cardiovascular system, and so we do have to be mindful that caffeine it's an herb. And I don't know that it's necessarily in and of itself bad, but I think when we adulterate it, we put it with sugar, we put it with other inflammatory foods, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, but that is the actual problem, right? And how close to what we call symptom land threshold are you? Meaning, if you do one more thing and it puts you over the edge and you're in symptom land, that's too much. So it's a kind of a hard question, and because all of our chemistries are different. Your chemistry may be able to handle, one energy drink and a cup of coffee, where somebody else can't do any. And I mean, I had a friend, great, amazing herbalist, who's super smart, but she had to become super smart because she was raised in the sugar industry with her father working at a sugar mill. And sugar came home every night. Sugar was woken up to every morning. Sugar was everywhere because that was, Dad's life. Dad would, he was buying the product and enjoying the product and raised his family on sugar. And she had so much sugar that she actually became, her body became so inflamed and sick that the caffeine would always put her into a state of adrenal dip instead of an adrenal lift. She would actually get depressed when she would do it. And it took her, her whole career, or studies to when she became an herbalist to figure out other ways to stimulate and lift her body out of the fog without it being a caffeine jolt or a sugar jolt. And so sugar and caffeine and the next thing could be that thing that throws you over your metabolic edge. So what we would first do is assess how much caffeine you put in. How much are you actually drinking, and how much do you actually need it? I always pick on my bride because I've always picked on her about the coffee. She's been drinking coffee since she's been 4 years old.
Seriously?
That's what she says. And I'm like, man. And then she blames it on her grandma that gave her gave her the coffee, and they would have little coffee treats together. Now, she does drink her coffee black, okay? She does use organic beans. They are freshly ground every day. And she has a sign that says no talkie till coffee. And or a sign that says, I need Jesus, and something like, I need Jesus and a whole lot of coffee or something. And it's like some people, that's where she's at. But that tells me her adrenal glands are low because she needs that much. And so we have to be mindful that, coffee is a stimulant and valuable in some respects, but not something we need to be leaning on as a crutch for good health or good mental clarity.
Okay, I got 2 things. I want to know, what does Mrs. Chapa pick on you about? If your thing with her is coffee, what's her thing for you?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to ask her.
We'll get her to chime in.
Yeah, we should. That would be great.
Okay.
She has tons of stuff that she picks on me about, and I'm from a food perspective, I'm probably just like real. I'm going to use the word anal retentive. I'm just like a food Nazi, man. Like and I kind of wish I wasn't. I want to be a little bit more relaxed and enjoy. Because I'll sit here and watch my kids eat a cupcake or something, and I'm like, y'all are so lucky. And I just watch them, and they're over there.
Ignorance. It's like the willful ignorance. They can just do that.
They can. And so it is definitely, I look at it and go, all right, Chop, just walk away from the cupcake. It's going to be okay, Or sometimes I indulge and I have a little bite or something, and they go, "Are you cheating?" And I said, "No, I'm just having a bite." I mean, is a one bite a cheat? I mean, come on, man. I hope not. You just had 2.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, so it's funny.
Going with the caffeine stuff. This is a story that someone who may or may not be a coworker of mine said that this happened to them and a friend. I guess the friend did it first. But those little droppers of liquid that you'll put into like water? You kind of stir it up, and it makes it flavored. A lot of times 0 calorie, artificial sugar. They'll put caffeine in there as well. So the bottle's like this big. So they thought it was a good idea. They popped the top
and just drank it straight.
So next thing you know, I had to call 911 and get an ambulance. That, you know, it was a teenager at the time. They were like, you had a heart attack. I don't know how much caffeine is in that little thing, but you drop it in it's like 2 or 3 drops in a bottle of water.
It's definitely not designed to be consumed all at once.
So that much caffeine is way too much. I don't even know what was in there.
I have a good story to kind of follow up on that. Is had a guy that we did a heart sound test on, and he was a young guy, and the heart came. It was erratic. I mean, his 4 heart valves were completely dysfunctional. Like, kind of like freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, dude, like you're like barely 29, you know. But what I didn't realize is before we did the test, before he came in that morning, he had a big energy drink. And that big energy drink caused that erratic behavior of the heart, and it disrupted his chemistry so much. His heart was you couldn't see where the first sound began and the second sound ended. There was no break, and the heart needs a break just like you need a break. And so we had to come in with B vitamins and minerals to calm that system down, and then get him off those stimulants and help him see that, one, his heart is fine. But you can't keep whipping the horse and expect the horse to perform at a healthy level for forever. I mean, you can wear that baby out, and if you whip it enough times, it will sooner or later. In this case, they just took a bit too big of a whip, and you remember, the Bible talks about the Romans knew how to torture people, right? They knew if they did 41 lashes, it'd kill you. But they knew 40 lashes, right, or something like that, wouldn't. So they knew how to take it to the nth right before you couldn't thrive, so that they could, they could do it again another time. And so the caffeine's the same thing. There is a point of, dude, you cross the line, and that's exactly what that person experienced, and that is the power of caffeine, and why, just like anything, needs to be respected. Like, you can't just take tons and tons of product and not expect a change. I mean, the whole idea of a product, that it has a function in your body. If I put you on something, it's because I'm trying to drive your liver to do something that it's not able to do otherwise. If your adrenals are no good, I got to figure out ways to get your adrenals to be better than they are currently, and how I can restore them back to good health so that you can feel your best. So that's where we come in with this idea of nutritional replenishment and deburdening the body of toxins and helping the system come online so that you begin to feel better again.
All right, we got another question that just came in. And, this is talking about the scale. It says, if the scale isn't moving, how do I measure success?
Okay. So we got a lot of good things happening here. It seems like it's all around kind of a well-rounded question and answer today. The scale is definitely a deceptive little measuring stick. And so we have to appreciate what the scale offers, The scale gives us a generality of our body weight, and we want that scale to move because the world around us has dictated that. Man, I remember how I was in my high school years. When I was in high school, 9th grade, I was 113 pounds. I was little. I mean, I look back and look at my wrist, and I'm like, golly, I'm surprised they didn't break when the basketball came into my hand, I'm 165 to 170 pounds now. The leanest I've been as an adult in my 40s was 145 pounds, which is extremely lean, and I had to really work hard to get there. And so there's a reasonable weight, is what I'm getting at, that your body should be. right? So, and what that reasonable weight isn't your high school weight, probably. I mean, as now a more mature adult body, mature, maybe not mentally, but definitely more physically, the body is more mature, and so it's going to carry a parameter that is what it calls its normal range. It's just like the heart rate. Like the heart rate, there's a parameter for which you need to stay in, and the assessment is to know where's your parameter. And so we want to recognize that, yes, your weight is a measure of water inside and outside the cell, protein and minerals, and fat mass. And what's in the fat? Well, I mean, a lot of times there's toxins in the fat. So if you feel like you're overweight and the scale isn't moving, odds are two things that I would right out the gate think is that you're missing the mark on some of the food choices that you're still making, or maybe you're skipping meals and you're not in a position to get that worked out yet in your metabolism, or you're lacking minerals that help the body detox the toxins out of the system. The body isn't going to just release toxins without escorts. So for every toxin that you have present in your body, you need minerals, 2 to 3 minerals to escort those toxins out. But what if you feel like you're doing all the right things and the scale isn't moving? I would say, well, let's look at other factors. So let's say you're walking. So now you're on this walk-in plan. So let's just keep it easy. Let's say that on the walk-in plan, when you first started, it took you 20 minutes to walk a mile. And now in 20 minutes, you can do a mile and a half. Well, that would be a metric of success. Yay! That is a very good thing to observe. What if you have this, in general, feeling of more stability in your legs? What if it's easier to stand up and sit down out of a chair at your workstation? That's a measure of value that you've got to consider that isn't just weight bearing, right? Like your pounds. What if your inches are less? Maybe the bra fits a little looser. Maybe the waistline's a little looser. Maybe the clothes that you used to feel were tight are now almost not as tight. And you go, wow, is this my imagination? So we actually want to look at other body metrics to see how things are looking, not just weight. So when somebody comes in for us and we put them on an InBody, the InBody is a body metrics tool that helps us evaluate liver function. It helps us look at visceral fat. That's the fat around your organs. Because if you've got a lot of liver fat, for example, I met a guy today, he's 27, diagnosed with fatty liver disease. And when you have fatty liver disease at 27, if I get a chance to see this guy as a patient, I will figure out something in his past had to have contributed to that, but he may say no, which means I got to go to that food log and I got to see, what does he do? I bet you he's over-consuming fruit and thinks fruit's a good thing. And so you can have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that could cause a dysfunctional liver that can actually maintain or gain weight even though your body mass is getting healthier, like your muscles are getting stronger, your body's conditioned. And so a lot of times we've got to come in and assess that scale, but we don't want to just stop at the scale. We want to look at, what is your muscle mass? What is your water, retention inside the cell so that we know that functionality is there? So there's other body metrics of performance, like are you up and down the stairs more efficiently, less winded? Are you able to stand up, sit down without feeling like, you've got to warm up after you just go from a sitting session to a standing session? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's okay to be a little stiff, but you shouldn't be like completely dysfunctional. How limber are you? Limber being stretchy. Are your joints able to go to full range? So we want to look at other parameters, not just the success measurement of weight loss. Weight loss has become a major player in the health and wellness arena, but it's also it's only one of many factors of success.
I like that, the InBody scan. It breaks it down for you so you can say like, oh, wow, my fat did go down 2%, 1%,
right.
Even 1%. That's huge.
It is.
Yeah.
And so and seeing the total body water to ratios, when you see those improve and you see that your body is actually retaining the right fluid in the right space, you know that the cells are more efficient. And so it's actually giving you a visual map of, I am getting better. You know, my liver is better. My visceral fat is lower. Yes, I still have some more muscle I need to get, but that's in time. It's consistency over time. And wherever you are right now, let's just get started and get going.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Man, I mean, we've got I don't know if we got time for one more, or do we have any more questions today?
Let me see. I think we got one. Yeah. All right. Okay, let me see.
Guys, I tell you for sure, when we come on the air, we get excited about just the opportunity to be a part of your world. So, we record these, we put these on our podcast, all of our social media platforms. So definitely like and subscribe and share them with your friends, family, and loved ones. I mean, this is, my world. I love this stuff. I teach this stuff. I observe people and understand more and more as I am a patient of the work as well. And so we're all on the journey together, and that's really exciting.
Okay, here's one. How do I know what the best way to eat is?
Oof, that's a good one. All right. So I don't know that there is a best way to eat, because each one of us are fundamentally the same, but we're also fundamentally different. What works for you is probably not going to work for your best friend, or vice versa. What is working for your best friend isn't necessarily going to work with you. However, how food should be is food by definition should give you nourishment. It should give you energy. It should give you vitality. It should give you a feeling of satisfaction. If you eat food and you're tired, you get the initial is satisfaction, like a cupcake or something like that. You can tell if the cupcakes are on my mind.
Yeah.
So if you think about how satisfied you are after you eat something, but then 30 minutes later you're sleepy, and then you're kind of dragging the rest of the morning. You're like, I need some toothpicks to hold my eyes apart. I can't see. They're so tight because I'm sleepy. That is an indication of blood sugar dysregulation, and so that in that case, if you find yourself sleepy after a meal, your diet choices are not fitting to your lifestyle. That's an easy one. Let's say that you eat certain foods and you get heartburn, indigestion, reflux, or burp a lot. That is a sign that whatever you're putting in the body isn't being digested appropriately, and it's potentially inflammatory and not something that you need to be eating, because it's not fitting into your health plan. And so the right diet, I follow several different versions of the right diet. So, I like the paleo diet. I like, a fruits and vegetables and protein diet. I love our yellow diet, which is basically a low carb diet that incorporates vegetables, so you get the fiber, the minerals, the nutrients, the vitamins, the phytonutrients present in these veggies. But I also like the idea of having a little bit of, starchy vegetables, because the comfort foods and helps, the system perform like it's supposed to. And on that, we limit obvious starches and carbs like bread and whatnot, and we limit, even in some cases rice, because the carbs can actually be good, but they can also be overconsumed, just like anything, because most people overconsume these things. So we teach people how to back them down and increase their vegetable content to get those mineral levels up. So, but then I also would, ascribe to following the Whole30 diet, which is more of a high-fat diet. I mean, down to no potatoes. There's no starch in that diet. It is a vegetable and meat diet, but the recipes are phenomenal. Or the fast metabolism diet. I like that one because it fluctuates between a higher fat diet to a lower carb diet to to even a higher carb diet. It's like a cycling diet, and people can figure out where their body performs best inside of the parameters of food choices given. I think the best diet to follow is a diet that's rich in vegetables, rich in proteins, and moderate in fats. Just as a baseline place, right? But when you're sick, inflamed, and broken, that's when we start shifting into these other diets like keto, or we get into intermittent fasting, or we get into low-carb dieting, and we use the diets as actually a tool of lifestyle to reset, restore the blood sugar pathways, the adrenal pathways, and teach and retrain the body to utilize fuel appropriately, not looking for stimulants all the time.
Here's one more question that came in, and this is from Tammy. She said, I'm drinking the Dandy Blend tea from your office, from Living Well, with stevia. Would that be considered towards my water? Because coffee subtracts and you have to drink more. Hope that makes sense.
Yep, Dandy Blend is, because it's an herbal, and it's a great herbal coffee alternative, fantastic for your liver, fantastic for your lymphatics. And that would be, I'd put it towards your water. It's just going to be, because it's dandelion water. It'd be like ginger lemon tea, or putting ginger in your water. That's water. I would say that is absolutely a great source of water, even with the stevia. As long as your body is, you're noticing that you're not always thirsty all the time, or you're not having to pee all the time. You're getting adequate fluids and you're getting your minerals in. I know you are getting those minerals in, so that your body is able to keep up with that need for detoxification that all of our bodies need so much. And so I would contribute that to a water source for sure. The Ultima, which is electrolytes and minerals that we also have at our office, that's also going to be in the water arena. So like if you have a 12-ounce bottle of water, drink a little off the top, drop a Ultima scoop in there, that's water. And so you just, anything that's caffeine free, I would classify as water. Bear in mind that it doesn't have artificial sugars in it, and it's not loaded with some sort of massive other stimulant. So I got to be careful a little bit. But it's that caffeine is definitely the thing that depletes us, and so caffeine free things are more things that replete us.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Well, guys, I'll tell you, this has been fun. I love coming on the show with you, Gardy, and it's always a pleasure just to kind of be a part of the people of the world. Like what is going on in their lives, and we're excited continually just to bring health and wellness news to your ears. And we pray that you're always blessed by the show. We're excited that we get to keep bringing a life-giving, hope-filled, joyful experience to you and your family. And so we always want you to know that Living Well, we're going to do our best to serve you, and we're going to pray that you do your best in order to serve others, and so that we continue to pass this health baton down through the generations. And remember, most of our teaching is caught, not taught. So like, we want you to be a part of our office in some capacity. We want you to be a part of things that we do, whether it's an outreach program, a seminar, or event, and let us teach you how to live better, be better, and stay better. And so November 12th is we have a big fun run coming up with Anchor Point Ministries, and so we invite you to be a part of that. That's going to be a lot of fun to waddle across the finish line, turkey style. And we're going to just celebrate this idea that we talked about today, was being active and taking activity to the streets, and do a mini fun run through Anchor Point Ministries. So you can call our office for details. You can call Anchor Point Ministries for details on that fun run. November 12th, it's going to be at Gloria Day in Nassau Bay. That kind of rhymes. And but it's a cool event. It's a really fun to see just the people that are lively and bubbly, that love running, and then the people that are just like, I just need to move, but man, this is early,
Yeah.
And you get all kinds.
And people just want to support.
Yeah, and that's right. And it is a fun event just to support and be a part of. And so we invite you to be a part of that. But at Living Well, we love being a part of your world. So just share the show, and we'll see you next week. God bless you guys.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.